So the first question I saw was Brandon's question. Brandon was asking about, was there any kind of 3D class? Well, there's all kinds. Mentorships. I'm not sure if there's like, depends on what you're looking for. Now, if you're looking for getting better at like 3D modeling, whatever, I mean, there's plenty of stuff out there to get into. I believe I have. See, the problem with KeyShot, though, at least the KeyShot that I have. Yeah, Polycount is great. The problem that I discovered with KeyShot is that you can't really import something in, but they have like some really cool miscellaneous ones that like reflect like a pencil shader. I wonder, I'm not sure where it's at though. Maybe the tune outline. All right, so let's see what's up. And there's like free software, like Blender, for instance. Blender is free, and it's super powerful. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, man, we can hear you.
Okay, because sometimes ZBrush and Photoshop and KeyShot and GoToMeeting is all on at the same time. It's bad mojo.
Well, I was just asking because I kind of want to get into like what, like, I fuck up his name all the time. Massier Curiosa. Over there at
What?
Learn Squared, he has this.
I mean, wait, who?
Uh,
What kind of class does he have?
Magazine. He has a 3D concept design class. Like
Is it like
3D
the
for
guy?
concept.
It's like the guy that has like the robot and like a yellow coat on or something.
It's yeah, I believe so.
Okay, yeah, that
Or
one looks
no,
great.
it's yeah, yeah.
I don't know who you're referring to, but yes, I'm sure that the Learn Square courses, there's some really good ones there. I learned one from 3D Coat, and that was really great, the 3D Coat one.
Yeah, that's the one that I was referring to.
Jama?
It might be Jamas, yeah.
Jama's dope. Yeah, Jama is like one of the best.
Jurabev. Their names are so hard to pronounce. That's my only problem.
That's the only reason
Like
why
you
you
never
don't
hear
sign
them.
up. Juberev. I don't even know. He's a really close friend of mine. I don't even know how to say his last name. But yeah, I hear you. Yeah. So check it out. Like for me, what I've done is just spend many years just painting and practicing, you know, um, in 3D consistently and constantly. I never stopped trying to learn 3D. Always, and it's Maciej Kachara. That one I actually do know how to say. Um, and the reason why is because technology is always advancing, and there's always new stuff to learn. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm actually, I feel like I don't want to say I'm I naturally can pick up programs fairly easy. Like I could out 3D most people like in SketchUp and stuff like that, which
Yeah.
I'm actually really good at. But I need to start, like I want to get into 3D Coat or anything. The only thing I feel like that's been holding me back is like I had one friend of mine, he's kind of a Debbie Downer, so I'm kind of ignoring him. But he was telling me that like learning 3D is hard because you don't know what companies are using what.
Debbie
And I
Downer.
guess that's something else. Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime someone gives you reasons, or even yourself, I say don't find reasons why you can't do something. Find reasons why you should do something. It's a better perspective to live by. So for instance, in that instance, like I said, well, 3D is hard, man, because different companies use different softwares. Yeah, it's true. So I guess nobody in the industry can work because 3D is hard. Because you never know what you're going to be able to be doing. No, that's ludicrous. Then figure that out. Or just pick a software that you like and then potentially just work for the only companies that do the kind of things that you like. If you prefer using SketchUp, then just keep using SketchUp. It's not a matter of if a company doesn't want to use it or not. In fact, some studios um, are willing to work with you even if you do like a software that they're not used to, if you are like kicking ass and they find a way to around it. You know? I wonder if this matters. What angle? Why there's 3 different ones? It's interesting.
I don't know. I guess I asked because I want to be. I actually commented on Ash Thorpe's post that he made yesterday about working on Ghost in the Shell. Like that. That's what I'm going to be. Like that's what I want to do. So that's why I asked.
What do you want to do?
Like stuff like Ash Thorpe, or like anybody honest, like Vitaly Bulgarov. I know that he works mainly in 3D and not really 2D, but
Mm-hmm.
like that's the caliber that I can see for myself within the next 10 years. And so, yeah.
But what is that? What is that? What is it specifically?
Uh,
Because Ash and
the
Vitaly are
the
two different.
finish, the level of finish, the almost the graphic read that they both have on their work. The ideas mainly is what I'm more gravitated towards, like the idea of what they're both interested in, like this futuristic concept. That's not like the mainstream futuristic concept. Um, I feel like I like their ideas more than I love their finished works, but I feel like the ideas behind them is something that I'd rather strive towards.
Okay. And so then I can see how 3D would fit into the world of Vitaly, but not so much with Ash. Because Ash is, he does 3D too, but he actually does most of it for his illustrative graphic design, right? But he also draws a lot. So I guess my question is, because Vitaly was a 3D artist, and so he learned 3D at a very high level. I mean, he can actually make like a 3D model, unwrap it, scan it, all that kind of stuff. He has those advantages. You understand? And so when you say 3D, um, the amount of skill that Vitaly has is heavily reliant on the fact that he is pretty much a 3D guy. That's all he is. You understand? And so if you wanted to reach that level, then you need to start doing 3D like right now. You understand? Are you there?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for sure.
It's something
Yeah, and I
basically
don't think that it's necessarily something like I don't want it to be like the 3D guy.
well,
I
let
guess
me
I'm the everyday
clarify.
artist to put it on.
Let me clarify. It doesn't matter what the tools you're going to be wanting to use, is what I'm trying to say. It's just that if you want to reach a certain quality that some certain artists are at, then you just got to, like, if you say Vitaly, Mache, and those guys like to go with 3D stuff, then I'm saying then you need to really make 3D like a staple of your diet. And I'm not trying to say that that's just taking a step backwards either. I'm just saying that's the direction you need to go, you know? And if that's a quality of work that you like, but you don't want to do 3D, you want to paint it, let's say, then that's possible too. But it's just either direction, it's going to be very difficult, very challenging, regardless of whatever path you want to take, you know? And what I'm trying to make a very strong point of is then just choose, you know, what it is in which you want to do, and then just start doing it, right? If you want to have, like, because Vitaly specifically, one of the main reasons why he is as good as he is, you know? Oh, what the? Hold on just a second.
You'd have to press advanced and say continue anyway.
Sorry, I talked to my daughter. It's just like telling her. She just keeps coming in. What'd you say?
Oh, I thought you were saying what because of the website, so I was offering a solution.
I wonder why it's not secure. Dude, this has been happening.
A lot of that's actually, well, that happened with my iPage website. I've actually posted in chat earlier. I went to ArtStation and got a pro account because iPage was fucking up so much. And I think it has something to do with WordPress. Like I had another WordPress website, a little startup that I did for a magazine, and it got hacked, and I was like, I hate this company, so I just left them. And just went
Are you sure? Because there is some stuff that's going on with net neutrality that Trump's involved with. Because the guy behind the internet, the person he put in is like has a huge agenda to make corporations have control over web traffic, and I'm wondering if it's happening because I've never had this issue before. And I'm not just talking about like joining the Vitaly site. There's been like just in the background, I'll like close this, and then be all of a sudden there would be like an advertisement, and it's from Cox, which is my internet provider, and I'm just like, what? You know, it's weird, and it just started happening like at least like last week. I'm gonna investigate this. And another day I went to the website, it was super slow. None of this was a problem before. See, what net neutrality did is to prevent internet providers from controlling our internet. You know?
yeah,
So
yeah, and then
I wonder
the
if they're just
website that
like,
you're trying to go to.
yeah, I'm just wondering if they're like Bulgarov. It's like a Russian. Yeah, we got to keep them away from those Russians.
Yeah,
You know?
that would make sense.
It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like I don't know, man. You know, I'm gonna
I
keep
wonder
my
if
eye
we're
on
allowed to
this.
be friends with him.
I'm gonna keep my eye on this. I'm just making a point.
You
Uh,
know, Anthony, you might want to be careful. You might not be able to fly anymore because you're friends with him. So.
yeah. Oh, Janusz. Wait, hold on. Janusz is peacing out. Hey, man. You have a good day too, buddy. Thanks for being part of the class. I appreciate you. Follow your heart. Chase your dreams. Appreciate all the work that you did. Keep it up, and I'll love to see what you have to offer next Friday. So submit to me in the chat. All right. So anywho, getting back to the point, I have devoted my time pretty much just I've made a very firm choice. Obviously, I'm going to be a character designer and specifically mostly a painter of character designs, right? And I just get better and better and better because of this straight on focus, you know? And that's what I'm trying to get at. And if that's something that you want to do, like more realistic, 3D rendered looking stuff, there's ways to do it without necessarily doing 3D, you know? The power of 3D is that you can kind of twist it around and actually use it. It becomes like an asset of some sort. And so for me, like I love 3D Coat because 3D Coat allows me to do 3D designs, right? Without without any real challenge. And I'm going to show you because like right here, like I'm painting and a lot of times whenever I'm sculpting, it's hard to do these types of things that I'm doing. Just like extrude a piece here, making like, like that's really hard to do. But with 3D Coat, um, there's a lot of power that I can wield, and I'll show you. I'm going to close Photoshop though, so that way you don't have too many things going.
I guess you kind of brought up something that is kind of interesting. Do you think that like making a firm decision on something, like say me, like I used to be like, I don't want to say used to be, but before this class, before the mentorship, I was primarily like an environment guy. Like
Sure.
that's what I did. I'm best at perspective. I'm the math guy. Like I can do things that make sense, and I can figure out it's good in my head. But like with characters and stuff like that, that doesn't always make sense. If you understand what I'm saying, like there's no like perspective guidelines for characters, you know. I mean,
Sure.
there is, but do you suggest like making a firm decision on like what I want to do? You know,
Yeah,
because now that I've
always.
delved into characters a little bit more, I actually kind of like it more than environments.
Yeah,
Um,
the question is always very clear to me. It's just like pick something that you'd prefer doing, not necessarily whether you like it or not, and then just start doing it. You know, because if you focus on what you like to do, um, you might find that you only like it because it's not hard. You know, and
yeah,
my point is that you should pick things that are not necessarily hard or easy. You pick them because this is what you want to do. Do you feel me? And the hard hard part of it is whatever. That's just going to be part of the deal, right? But what's really the point I'm trying to make here is that every time people kind of diverge their attention to all these different facets, it becomes a problem, you know, because you never really focus in. I mean, think about the people that you brought up, Vitali, Ash, Mache. I mean, these guys are pretty focused, you know? And because of
yeah,
that focus, they're like the best in the industry,
yeah,
you know? And so that's just how it is. Like think about even me, like I'm pretty focused. I'm a pretty like straightforward. I'm a character guy through and through, right? And I'm not worried about tools too much, to be honest, because eventually all the tools will become easier and easier to use, right? Like literally, they'll just become so easy that whatever 3D knowledge that I might have needed before, I don't need anymore. You know, with tools like the Oculus um, Medium, which allows you to do like 3D sculpting, for instance, is a first step into doing that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And there would be tools that would be even better for making like 3D epicness. You know? And so whenever when people tell me, oh, you know, I don't know sure what I want to do, then it's just what is it that you think that you want to do, right? And ignore whether it's going to be hard or not, and then just do it. So for instance, you know, you want to be like Vitali or whatever, then you got to pick up some 3D and like actually know how to do sub-D modeling. You need to know how to do some Boolean actions and some really hardcore stuff and just start making things that are that caliber. And it's going to be very challenging, but that's why there's probably only a handful of people that can do what Vitali does. You know? There's a very real reason why he's like one out of like 100 people that can probably do what he does at that level. I would even say less, like one out of 50 people in the world, you know? And you could be amongst that club. You could be part of that club, right?
yeah. Sorry, I keep muting my mic. My mom's in here. I'm in the
Yep.
garage.
Tell your mom,
You're talking.
tell your mom to get out. Say,
I'm not
Mom,
gonna tell her that.
get out. You're a good son.
Anthony Jones said, "Get out." Yeah, he said, "Get out."
Your mom, I just hear your mom start beating you. Boy, I raised you, and you're like, ah, I
She's
just,
Italian as fuck, so I
yeah.
wouldn't put it past her.
I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess like I love what they all do, and
Okay,
I don't know. I
here's another thing to think about. Okay, I love what they do too, you know, but I don't necessarily do stuff like that, you know. Like I see all the stuff like Ghost in the Shell, and I'm like, I'm like, oh, that's really cool, man. It's really, really cool that they did stuff for that. You know? But
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't want to work on Ghost in the Shell. You know? It's really cool and it's really great. I think that Che had his name like in a hotel for the movie. That's like really great. It's like really cool stuff.
Oh, fuck yeah.
But um, I don't. I like what I'm doing right now, painting monsters and stuff, teaching people how to do monsters and stuff and characters too. These are the things that I live
Yeah.
for, right? I love
Yeah.
Pixar animation. You know, I have friends who worked on uh, some of my favorite movies. Like I know them personally, like the people who worked on Wall-E and um, Incredibles. Like my friend Louis, he worked on Incredibles with Brad Bird personally. Like him and Brad Bird are like buds. You know, I'm like that's great. But I like teaching people. I like living with the common man. You know, the other artists that are just still trying to make it. That's where I like to live. You see kind of my point? And my buddy Louie loves to draw stories for animated films. Ash likes to do very cinematic graphic design. Vitaly likes to make mechs. I like all their stuff. You kind of see the position that I'm in. Like the position that I stand in is not a position that is outward looking. It's inward looking, meaning I look
Yeah.
outside to see inspiration and motivation, but I look inwards to always stay true to what I truly like to do. You understand?
Yeah.
And you can totally be inspired by Tally, and you can totally be inspired by this artist or that artist, right? But if you don't really have any interest of just going full on 3D mech dude, right? Then don't be a full on 3D mech dude, you know? Like take a look at
Yeah.
like just my I mean if you just look at my likes board, you can see just a variety of stuff from 3D to 2D to super stylized to line art to monsters to realistic, right? Like
Yeah.
look at just this quadrant right here. This like section right here. You got like a creature design, you got weapon designs, and then you got like cartoony ladies. And then if you look down, you got like stylized spawn stuff, and then photorealistic painting of like an elf and then a space station. Like I'm into all this stuff, man. I think it's great. But then if you look at my work, it's my work. This is what I do. You know, the one of the greatest compliments I get is that when someone sees a painting, they almost immediately know that it's mine. That's a compliment.
Yeah. That's
That means I have a
the
thing.
staple of Anthony Jones. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my thing. And that's what I'm trying to say. You should focus on that more than anything else. And if you want to learn 3D and all that stuff, it's hard and challenging, but do it. You know, but just take it very seriously in 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 the regards of you're focusing on what you like, not what anyone else might like. Understand?
Yeah.
That's kind
Yeah.
of the hard message I'm trying to send to you. Yeah, and hopefully that helps out. Yeah, and 3D Code, by the way, is just freaking dope. Like you can see right now, I'm making
Yeah, I
like
think that's the program that I've been. It was either that or Moto, one of the
I heard
two.
Moto's really good too. I've heard. I haven't messed with it long enough to make a strong statement about that. So
I've heard it's best for like hard surface and stuff like that. So
perhaps I don't know.
I don't know.
I haven't messed with
I
it
don't
enough.
know.
Yeah, I am actually. I like simplistic tools
Well, see,
that keep me
another
focused.
reason is I don't have the money to even start. You know,
3D Code's
like
pretty cheap.
buy these programs. Yeah, it's like $300.
Yeah,
Not that big of a deal.
so
I think that's why I'm leaning.
3D Code's probably one of the better ones, and then Blender. Just learn Blender; it's free. Again, don't have the excuse of well, I can't afford it. There's all kinds of free and
Yeah,
or super
yeah, you're
inexpensive.
right.
Yeah, that's not a fair argument. It used to be there used to be like no other software other than like Max or Maya, right? So you had to spend like thousands of dollars. But that's not true anymore. Like for instance, Blender. Blender is a super powerful tool and it's completely free. And people used to make fun of it. They're like, "Oh, Blender," but now they're like, "Blender, huh?" Same thing with like
Yeah,
SketchUp. like
Well,
Google.
it's funny because, like, honestly, before people started using Dad's Studio, like, I was using it like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah,
Like, in condition with SketchUp. Like, I would model out an environment in SketchUp, super basic, take me like an hour. Then I would go into Daz and put figures in, and then I would paint over top of it. And then all of a sudden, like within the past year, I start seeing people, oh, look at Daz, and I was like, you bitch, I was using it first. Uh,
yeah. Well,
like,
it's not yours.
I thought that was funny.
It's not
It's
like
not, I
it's
just thought it was funny. Well,
yeah,
I got made fun of,
yeah. So
like people
don't
were like, oh, why are you using that? I was like, because it's useful, man.
yeah.
Like,
So you're admitting to a very short-sighted weakness, which is that you're too fickle. You think about what other people would prefer or not prefer. Like
yeah,
even the suggested,
I
like
think I do that a lot.
yeah, it's unfortunate. And I'm trying to say, like even when you started, you said you had a friend who's a negative Nancy, and he said, oh, 3D is harder or whatever, right? And you're like, oh, okay, maybe. And you actually took that very literal or even serious. And then to the point where you might not even consider doing it anymore. And then you had people like judge you for using Dash 3D. Yeah, maybe it isn't a good tool. And I'm trying to say like you do what you do, you man. Like don't let like you can be the one that proves to other people that Dash 3D is this awesome stuff. You could be the one that proves to your friend that yeah, it is. Like you're right. There's like different people using different tools, but I'm just going to use this because it's out there.
I
Yeah.
think kind of part of it also harkens back to like when I was at SCADS, and a lot of the professors, believe it or not, like SCAD was the biggest waste of my time because a lot of the professors would not let you, and it wasn't despite the fact that like they wanted you to draw. They were just like these uber purists that just didn't believe in any of that, you
Yeah,
know?
and that's almost always when it comes to technological advances is almost always the wrong. They're all those that mentality is almost always wrong. Okay, like you can't use this thing for this thing because of this thing. Like as soon as people say like a thing can't be a thing, you should start criticizing their judgment because maybe they don't know what they're talking about. And maybe they do, but you should start being like, wait a minute. Because there was a time where
Yeah,
people were, I remember I had a friend and I went to like a workshop and I saw somebody use like a unwrap tool where you can unwrap from the model, right? Because back then you had to unwrap like in a unwrap room, right? It was really counterintuitive. It makes more sense to unwrap from the actual model. And so there's a new software that came out that was doing that. Like you can see the model and you can create the seams and unwrap that way, right? And I was like, of course, duh, that's the future, you know? And and I told my friend about it. I was like, dude, there's this new app like where you can like unwrap from the model, like from looking from the model. And he's like, that's impossible. There's no way it's possible. That doesn't exist. You whatever you saw, that's not what it was. And I was like, what? Don't tell me what I saw. I was like, I saw it. Like it's like exactly what it like. You should look into it. I think it's called I forget the name, whatever. And it was like it was Hedis, right? But I was trying to remember what it was. And he was just like, no, 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 it's not a thing, dude. You don't know. You're not a 3D artist. You don't get it. Like that's how difficult it would be to do. Like just super super pretentious. Okay. And I was like, maybe he's right. Maybe I just missaw something. I started criticizing my own judgment a little bit. And then like literally like 2 weeks later, he's like, bro, like dude, look at this new software. It's like where you can like model the thing. And I'm like, are you serious right now? And he's like, what? It's like, remember like 2 weeks ago I told you about this? And he was like, oh, this is what you're talking about? And I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, you must have not described it correctly. And I'm like, dude, I said it exactly the way you're describing it to me now. Like you can unwrap from the model, and he just didn't want to admit that perhaps he was wrong. But like we
yeah,
laughed about it, right? We just laughed about it later. Like in the moment he was trying to fight, but then later on we kind of laughed about it, and we call it like the Daffy Duck Porky Pig situation, where like Porky Pig's like, I think we should go into that cave, and he's like, And Daffy Duck's like, that's a terrible idea. I have an idea. We should go to that cave, right? and and I was like, that's exactly what happened. And we laugh about it now. But um, but yeah, like I had friends that were like that, and I had obviously met countless amounts of people that are like that. And that's why, like me and Jama, we get along really well because we always criticize other professionals. Because trust me, there's other professionals that think this way. Well, you would think they wouldn't because this is why they're all epic, but no, they definitely do. Because when you learn, like you spend all this time learning a thing, and you're like, someone comes out and it's like, you know that thing that you spent all those years learning, you don't have to do that anymore because there's a button. You know, it's really demoralizing. I am sure. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's why you should put all
like,
your effort into learning design and like high concept stuff, right? Because that's the kind of stuff that will carry with you um, in time, right? But if you focus all your
mm,
time and effort just on like skill-based things that clearly can be automated in the future, like retopologizing, um, uh, unwrapping, all this stuff can be seriously just re just turn into a button for sure. So yeah, uh, like learn software, learn all this stuff, but keep in mind you should be learning like really strong fundamental stuff. And you can do that learning 3D and everything like that. Just because you're in 3D doesn't mean you can't learn some good design sensibility, you know?
yeah,
So anyway, yeah, it's a good question because people are always like, I want to learn this or that because I see someone else do it and it looks so awesome and I want to be awesome. And I'm like, you can totally be awesome. Just be awesome. It's three codes. So
like I have this one professor. He's actually a super cool guy. Really good artist. He teaches like perspective design, like environments, props, and structures. That was the name of the class. And I did this 3D model in SketchUp, and then I turned it into a 360. And he was like, "Hey man, like, didn't really want you to do 3D." And he was like, "You know, the funny thing is like, if you would have learned perspective, you know, better, you could have done this 360 drawing on this paper." And I was like, but I still did it. Like I don't understand what, like I genuinely didn't like at the time understand what he was getting at. I was like,
yeah,
I don't know the difference.
yeah. That situation's a good situation to bring up because you're both right, and that's the problem, right? So it's like hard to like, how do you both be right? Well, you let me explain. He's right. If you could have just drawn it, potentially that's faster, you know? And it is because think about 3D. Like you might think it's faster, but if you can just draw a perfect perspective without even worrying about it, then you'd be like Kim Jong Ji, right? And you could do like a full-on like illustration with perfect perspective in less than a few hours, you know? But you're right as well because 3D is a powerful tool that can also get you there really quickly. And if you have a good sense of perspective and design, then you know you can create a 360, but then also a scene that can be manipulated and altered and iterated. In fact, I always say the reason why digital tools are used today as a high standard is not because they're faster in terms of like making something. They're faster because of iteration. You know, it's just way faster to iterate with like 3D. You know, than it is
Yeah,
to just draw it every single because then you have to redraw it. But if you did it in Photoshop, then it's probably might just it might be just as fast as 3D. But to see the difference then is with 3D you can actually reuse that asset for like an in-game high-res model. So there's benefits to both, obviously. And so that's why I always say if you're going to do concept, then it's got to be fast. You got to do that thing quick, you know? Otherwise, there's no point. And when I say you guys should do like full-on finished paintings and stuff like that, that is to get you guys to get faster at the end of the day, you know? Because if you can spend 12, 15 hours to do a really full-on nice painting or 3D model, whatever, right? And it's really useful to the concept artist, or I'm sorry, to the rest of the modeling team, then you save tons of time. So like I like using 3D too, specifically for hard surface stuff like this. And 3D Code's renderer is getting better and better. And eventually it's going to be all I need, I think, 3D Code. I don't think I'll need anything else. I know some people that still use Keyshot, and Keyshot's really good, and I have Keyshot. So since I already have it, I'm not going to just throw it away. But I'm starting to learn that I could probably just get really convincing 3D shots. Set another light. Let's put it lower so we can get those facets there. Turn the light down a little bit. And bam, right? Nice little 3D thing. You know? I don't know if they have like a line art shader yet in 3D Code, but it's no big deal. And then I'll usually just take a screenshot, you know, and then throw this thing into Photoshop. And then just do a paint over. Right, but there's like already a lot of stuff that's already there. And I could have smoothed some of these edges more. You know what I mean? And then add more cut lines
Yeah,
by
see, like
hand.
that's more the process that I want to do. You know, like I don't necessarily want to be like, and look at this 3D model that I just did. I'd rather, you know, look at this 3D base and then paint over that I did.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, figure it out. Like, what is it that you truly want to get into? Um, so I'm going to be taking less classes, or I'm going to be teaching less classes, and that's a product of me trying to find more time. Because I find that 3D Code's a really powerful tool, and what I want to do is build an enormous amount of kit bashable pieces, like buckles and latches that I design, and you can put them into like your own object set, and then you can just throw them in and place them in, and you can make them into little brushes if you want, and that's really cool. You know, you can just drag and drop them in, and then place them to locations, right? And that's the kind of stuff that I like to do, and the kinds of people that I model off of is actually not Vitaly so much, but a guy named Mike Nash. This guy right here. Like, see this right here? This is insane. And the first step to doing this would just not only just have probably start to invest in a better processor and video cards, but also just having super high quality like kit bash pieces here and there. And it's going to take some time, but that's kind of the thing. Or just learn how to sculpt and model these types of features really quickly. You know?
Yeah, that's one of the processes that's kind of lost to me. It's like when I hear that whole kit bash term, like I know what it means in relation to 2D, but like when it goes into 3D, like I don't know enough about the program. Like I don't know what, like I have an idea of what kit bash means, and I have an idea
So
of what brushes
kit
mean in 3D.
yeah, kit bashing is you know the Millennium Falcon? And you know like all those pieces that are part of the Millennium Falcon? They're
Yeah.
like It's like on top of it. It's just like a bunch of stuff. I think they had like Cadillac parts that were on top of it.
That's awesome.
So it's called kitbash because it's from model kits. So what old special effects artists used to do was basically take model kits, like old World War II tanks and jets and like fighter jets and cars, and then just find like those little pieces and just basically glue them on, to make like a cool spaceship or something. You understand? So when you're kit bashing, that's what you're doing. You're just basically taking the collection of just pieces and parts and you're just throwing them together to make something look really cool. And so when I'm saying kit bashing buckles and latches, what I'm saying is I model like the latch independent from this thing and I save it as its own little object, and I just make another latch and I make like a belt and I make all this types of stuff, and then you can turn them into brushes in these 3D softwares or into objects where you can just like paint it on. You can paint like a latch. Does that make sense? But you have to first make that latch. It's kind of like like building like a factory assembly line.
So it's almost kind of like photo bashing, but in relation
It's the
to
same
3D
thing.
things,
Kit bashing
in a way.
is using model kits. Photo bashing is using photos. Paint bashing is using your own painting, or what I would highly advise against, other people's paintings. You understand?
Yeah.
The bashing is when you just take something and put it all together, and then the word that goes in front of it is like basically defining what it is that
The
is being
medium.
bashed. Yeah. And so like for instance, I can paint bash now my own painting. Like take this part, right, and shrink it down. Maybe warp it, and then try to paint from this. And perhaps I can do this where I can like create a sharper piece of, if you like, you know? And
Are you ever going to teach like a 3D concept design class like this?
not really. But let me say
No.
something. One thing that I will potentially start working towards is just a mentorship class, meaning that it's not just me teaching you how to do characters. It's whatever you prefer. So if you're like an environment guy, I'll help you work with environments. And if you're a 3D guy, I'll help you with 3D. And if you want to learn 3D or environments in that same class, like I would have videos available that are just those. You know what I mean? So you know how I now have like mostly character stuff. So I'm planning on reformatting all that so that it's just there's a really good character video series, but then also a really good like 3D. And you choose your own adventure kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you're kind of like the guide through it.
Yeah, and I'm the actual mentor. Right? I just mentor you through whatever it is. So then like, one person will be looking at like a 2D painting, but then another person will be looking at a 3D sculpt. And another person might be doing creature design. But that's obviously going to take some time for me to kind of sit down and actually do that. Because I actually did have like separate classes, but I found that some people are less interested in this or that. So it's kind of like it wasn't necessarily good because I need classes to fill out to justify the cost and time, right?
Yeah.
And so this will almost guarantee the classes will fill out, because
Oh, yeah.
obviously most people will be here probably for character stuff because that's what I am. That's what people follow me for. But those, offshoots people like you perhaps will be like, oh, I'm going to take AJ's mentorship, but I'm going to try the 3D program. Get it?
Yeah.
And then I'll just be like, I'll just look through your stuff and be, okay, like let's work on this. And I'll just critique. And it'll only be based off stuff that I can actually teach. It wouldn't be like, I'm not too big of a vehicle guy, so I would have to become a vehicle person first before I would open that window.
Have you ever done any vehicles? I
Yeah,
think you brought that
of
up once,
course.
and I went through and I actually tried to look for
No,
some of
I've
your
done a
videos.
lot. I'm just not very good at them. Or
Okay.
that's contextually speaking, I'm not as good at them as I am with the character stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm decent at
Uh,
them just because I'm a reasonable painter, and that just transcends.
hmm
But I'm not like there are people that are clearly way better. Like just I would not even hire myself.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't like vehicles either. It's just that clearly I don't do them enough.
Is it possible to download the critique videos? I didn't know if we could or
Yeah,
not.
I actually at the end
Okay.
of today, I'm gonna send you guys the link to the folder because I'm gonna be changing the
Okay,
password
awesome.
on Monday, and then you guys can just download them from that link or just
Cool.
save the Dropbox link somewhere. Keep it secret, keep it safe. Just email it to yourself potentially. I highly recommend downloading it though because there are times where I will move folders around and that you won't have access to it anymore. And you can always have access by just asking for it because I store them on my Dropbox, so I have all of them since the beginning of time. And so just ask, and then I will upload them to you personally. If for whatever reason you lose them in like years from now, hopefully I'll still have them. But yeah, if you want them, I would highly recommend just download them as soon as I give them to you guys.
Yeah, that's what I listen to while I paint. I'll listen to a podcast and music behind that. So I always like to re-listen and re-listen and re-listen.
Yeah, yeah, you can do that. So yeah, check it out. Like, this 3D model is a strong base to work from. You get my point?
Yeah.
It's very, very powerful to work from. So this is why I suggest it to people. Like, people are like, yeah, should I learn through 3D? I'm like, of course, it's not. It's not hard. Like 3D is actually not very difficult to learn. But what might end up happening is that you might find that you don't know much. You know, it's less about the software. It becomes more about that you just don't know anything. And then 3D software just starts to reveal it, because now you have the shape and form and three-dimensional aspect, like perspective and everything at your fingertips, but yet you can't make something reasonable, you know?
Yeah.
So
Which I think is a problem of mine. Like I don't know shit.
yeah, I always
And
tell people to be on the caution of not knowing versus knowing. Like just assume that you don't know. You're going to live a better life
yeah.
if you do that. Anyway, any other questions? Let's move on. Let's try to take some other questions before we get too in depth with this. I'm sure these answers were helpful regardless. Oh yeah, post it right now in the go-to meeting. I'll take a look at it. Okay, see it. All right. Yeah, so I feel like your designs have gotten better. Like you've definitely pushed them more and more in the class. But the issue, oh, these are really nice. Yeah, these are actually really great. The issue is finality to your work. A lot of the stuff is not super finished. And that was a problem that we were discovering in class. And you don't have a lot of work. Especially like you don't have a lot of concept art. You have a lot of some fan art. There's a good amount of these that are very similar too. And so what you want to do is just have a lot more really, wait, hold on, what'd you write? It's currently I just left for GDC update, but I'm adding my stuff from this class when I get a chance to convention struggle. Okay. Yeah, so, you need just a lot more work. I usually suggest people have at least 12 really nice concept art pieces in their portfolio. And then that would include like another page that references like the work that you did to get to those concept pieces, kind of like the stuff you did for class. So you would have like a thumbnail slash iteration page that would share one page, and then you would have one page that is like the concept. Some people like to put everything all on one page just to kind of show like the overall, like, hey, I can do concepts and then the sketches, and it's all just there on the very first page. I think it's nice to have both, where you have just one page that's just built for look at this cool painting, and then the next page on how to get to that cool painting. So then if you did that and you had 12 pieces, then that would be upwards to 24 pages. Um, but like, yeah, minimum of like 12 like pieces, even if they're only just the pieces you don't have the working ups to them. And then if you can also give like a painting that's like if you can also do paintings that are just full on, uh, yeah, like just like crazy full on epic, often, and you had like 12 of them, or you had more like 24 or 50. That's good, but it's all about just super quality though, you know? So it's better to have like 12 super epic painted stuff versus like 50 just okay painted things. So, you know, the quantity versus quality argument kind of lives right there. But I'm a big fan of quantity. Like, I think it's better to just have lots and lots of work. And I think it's easier these days to digest all that work anyway. So if you have a lot of great work and it's just there for people to kind of just rummage through, you just create more opportunity for people to find your work. I mean, ArtStation, if you just sign up for ArtStation Pro, like you get a little bit of both worlds, which is awesome. Like, let me show you. Like, you can basically, whoops, whoops. Like, if you just go here to my portfolio site, what the? It's not loading. Uh-oh, net neutrality. Can't trust my website. What the? It's white now. It's not supposed to be that color. It's fine. So, you know, you have like pieces here and it's all super clean already. And if you go to like actual portfolio, you'll see that when it's uploaded, the image actually gets loaded to your quote unquote portfolio, you know? Oh, there you go. Now it's back to dark. And it's super nice, super clean. And it's not too difficult to do. And I think it's like $75 for a year. It's crazy cheap. And then I think it's super cheap. And you can get your
Yeah,
own
I
domain.
just signed up. It's 78.
Yeah, super cheap. And then you can get, I mean, you don't have to do that either. You can do like monthly if you like, which I think is super cheap too. It's like $4 or $5. And so anyway, the point is that once you do that, then you can do this. And then the next step I would say is that you can build you can create your own domain. They allow that to happen as well. So you can just like, you know, right now I already have robotpencil.net, so I don't really think it matters. And so, and I have it so that it links to an external site, which is my website, so people can go and find out more about my mentorships and what have you. Know what I mean? You know what I mean. All right. So looking at brand stuff. Yeah, it seems like the only portfolio pieces you got going are the ones that I got for your class or for this class. Yeah, this is pretty cool, but the same problems that we were dealing with in the classes,
Yeah, I
like
just
finality.
erased it a lot.
Yeah, finality. And this stuff's cool, like, you know, just like a picture of a person, right? But it's not portfolio stuff. Like this, everything except for that is portfolio things. But
Okay.
here's the thing, like I don't care if people do this, like they post their own like little fan sketches or studies, especially if they're really good. But think about it from the perspective of a client. They're most likely not going to be like, oh yeah, we were looking for someone just to do portraits. Maybe if it's for illustrations for some board game or card art, maybe. But like for big projects, usually not, right?
Yeah.
Like they want stuff like this, like gun design. Like, okay, great. Like this is something we can use. We can have a modeler make this and so forth and so on. And like if you think of it that way, like if I go to the site and say, okay, I'm looking for a 3D mech designer, bam, right here, you know, like that's the image I'm gonna go for. And watch, if you go to this person's website, you'll see an abundance of 3D stuff for sure. It's no shock, you know, and it's just no shock because the quality of work also reflects that probably the person most likely has a lot of work on hand, and if they don't have it on their ArtStation or website, I'm sure it's somewhere else, right? Or they just haven't posted. Yeah, you'll just find continuously this to be true. I wonder if this person watched one of my tutorials, because I did this tutorial of ZBrush with like a soldier head, and I taught how you can kind of go about making one. And once I did that, there is a surplus of mech head soldiers, and I think I might have slowly invented Mr. Concept Artist. Because I did that thing, and then everybody like was like, "Oh, that's great." Even Mike Nash like messaged me. He's like, "Hey, can I get that video?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Because they were just so curious, like, how do you make like something look like a 3D soldier? And a lot of what I did is very simple and practical thinking. I just thought, okay, you just got to look at the lighting and of the environment that you've got, or the photo that you got, and then um, just try to match it in the renderer, and then you'll achieve this result. There's a few trend centers out there. I consider myself one of them. Another one is Jama. Jama is really crazy. Like he'll do something, and then all of a sudden everyone else will do something. And I think a lot of it has to do with because me and Jama are the same in terms of like we're always trying to think of really inventive ways to do stuff. You know? And it's just a product of something that happens, you guys, when you just do a lot of work. You just are forced to think outside of the box, you know, even if you didn't want to. And you have more opportunities stumbling upon new processes by just practicing all kinds of things all the time. So anyway, um, yeah, he's a really good example of that because he started 3D Coat, and I was like, well, even though everyone's like 3D Coat, that's not a real thing. But see, you see the difference though, Brandon? Like he wasn't like, oh man, I guess not, and stop. No, he's like, nah, F that. 3D Coat's amazing. And then he like made it amazing. And all of a sudden, a surplus of artists come out wanting to do 3D Coat. So I'm always on the lookout for what's out there and see what's available, what's really great. But recently, I've been trying to take a step back from doing too many things, though. I'm just trying to be a little more conservative with my process these days because I'm trying to take my own advice and stay focused, stay minimal, so I can be really excellent in the things I really want to be at. And right now, that focus specifically is like characters, when it comes to my actual artwork. And then, uh, what you call it, teaching is another thing that I take very seriously. I've been taking notes every time I do classes to try to see what I can do differently in the next round to make my classes better and better. Juno? Yeah, see, this is coming out pretty nicely. And it's like real quick, right? Like I just did that quick model. Yeah, 3D Code allows me to focus on like stuff like silhouette, man. It's amazing. It's because it's clearly a tool made for artists, like creative artists. That's why I love it. Yeah, it took like what, 30 or 45 minutes to do this from start to finish, or start to here. I was probably spent another 15, 20 minutes on this to really polish it up, make it as cool as I possibly can. I'm sorry, say that one more time. Or actually, let me read. My 3D buddies love it for hand-painted textures. Oh yeah, that's originally what it was made for, or like one of the main components of it. And people just ran with that, and now people are starting to learn that you can do like really epic 3D stuff. There's some new versions of 3D code, so I do need to go online and check it out, see if it's dope. But yeah, I'm gonna stop the class here though, guys. And so I just wanted to
Man,
say,
thanks a lot.
yeah, man, no, thank you guys. Listen, I'm very proud of all the stuff you guys have done throughout the class. I think you guys are really on the right track. I tell all my students that, the fact that you were able to cough up this money to take the class and then show up every class and do as much work as you possibly can at the best ability, you're demonstrating to me that you have what it takes to make it. Okay. Really, there's a very small percentage of people who can have access to this information, and there's a small percentage of people who utilize that information, right? And that same small percentage of people that utilize and have access to this stuff and really push themselves are the ones that usually make it. So I have a strong belief that I have a good, beyond like 70 to 80% of my students are going to destroy the industry. They're going to come in and then become the leaders of it. I believe that full-heartedly, because $500, $400 is a lot of money to cough up. Spending 4 hours, 6 hours a week just hanging out in class is a lot of time, and then spending 10, 15 hours more working on this thing is a lot of work, and a lot of people just don't want to do it. And you guys might not be the best, greatest artist at the end of the month, right? That's fine. I've taught you guys and hopefully demonstrated to you guys this is just going to take some time. Unlike, you have these programs where they're like 3 years, you're going to get a diploma and you'll get a job. I can never promise that. But what I can definitely promise is that if you don't stop, if you keep working and you do everything that I've suggested, like constantly practice and constantly study, and learn from the studies, talk to one another, use the community, get access to, there's tons of videos out there, and not just mine, but like others out there that are online, that are free. Some are also very cheap and accessible. There are other mentorships from other teachers that I have no ties to financially, so it seems bad business to promote other artists. No, if you want to be the best, you have to learn from as many people that you admire, right? So I do actually encourage you to take on when you can and when it's affordable. And because then you're truly investing in your trade. You're truly investing in your craft. And I've done it too. I spent clearly thousands and thousands of dollars on my own education, whether that's just be going to workshops, going to events, taking on classes, etc. You know? And that's kind of the point that I want to make very, very clear to you guys before I send you off, that you guys have what it takes to be. Hold on. No, baby. There's nothing there, sweetheart. There's nothing there. I don't see nothing. Get out of here. I'm trying to motivate my students. Okay, I'll help you in just a second. Um, and so, and focus on the stuff that you want to do too, guys. Like life's too short to live other people's dreams and ambitions. Live your own. Okay? And with that, I appreciate y'all. I'll see you guys on the Discord. Hope you guys have a good one. And yeah, we'll talk very, very soon. Laters. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to watch more in the future. If you like the video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you like this content, you can go to my website, robotpencil.net, where you can find mentorships, tutorials, and a Patreon to get more exclusive content. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in my next videos.